Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Studio Insights with the Belvista Studios team. We've got Kim here, who is currently in France at the moment, which is pretty cool. We've got Victoria.
You're probably
in France by the time this gets released, so it's fine.
Probably.
We've got Victoria and myself, Hannah, and we are looking forward to getting into this episode where we ask each other questions, we learn from each other with the intent of becoming better learning designers and improving in our craft. Before we get into the episode, if you have enjoyed our Studio Insights or you've enjoyed watching our Belvista Studios channel, please subscribe, click the subscribe button below. It would be awesome to have you notified when we get new videos and have you as part of the squad. So please do that. There's also the Creator Hub in the description that you should check out as well. There's lots of resources, templates, human-centered design activities, so check that out. But let's get into the episode. Kim, you can ask the first question.
Thanks, Hannah. Like your intro. Vic, you did your learning time today. Teach us, please.
Am I allowed to look at my notes? Because I think I'll get in trouble if I don't. I only just learned it. All right.
If your examination begins, please no consulting.
They're kind of in like all different like categories, I guess. So I might be like jumping around a bit. So this one seems very simple, but so because I think one of the things I want to get out of the learning time, because it's focused on like running a workshop. Yeah, like focused on running a workshop basically. And I have like a lot of like nervousness and like anxiety, I guess, around like facilitating stuff on my own. But one of the things I saw today that I really liked was it's to do with like your mindset going into a workshop, because I'm trying to collect like notes that would help me prep for any workshop, like the kind of like energy you need to have and how you should feel about how you're approaching it. So the first little thing I saw that I really liked was, it was just a little tip that someone had posted. And it was to think, instead of thinking I have to be here and I have to do this, you think like I get to be here and I get to do this.
Love
so I haven't put it into practice yet, but I feel like it could come in handy.
If you'd like to take a moment now and be like, I get to spend time with Kim. What a privilege. Like, we're happy to hold space for you.
No, that's okay. Only because I already have it. I have a positive mindset about our meetings, but some of them I am like plagued with like, oh God, I really don't want to do this. Like, why do I have to do this? So I've got that just as like a little reminder thing.
Love that.
Which, I don't know how it like play out yet, if it's just that simple to be like, oh no, now I'm all like happy and positive about everything, but I'll definitely give that a go. Then there was a few just like brief tips that I saw. And I know I feel like they sort of tied in with what we've talked about before, about how you don't have to be like an expert when you go into a meeting, you just have to be curious. Like, you're not there to be the smartest person in the room, basically. So these were just like little tips that kind of tied in with that. So the first one was that you should always listen more than you talk, which I think stresses me out sometimes, because I feel like I need to, like, as the facilitator, it's like, I don't know, sometimes I'm thinking like, oh, I'm giving like a presentation or something, but it's like, it's not like that. Like, they should be telling you and sharing like information with you. That the benefit of you being a facilitator is you can offer like a third party or like a bird's eye view of a situation. So even though you might not be familiar with what the information people are sharing, you have like that outside perspective of like, oh, I'm hearing this person say this and this person say this, like this is what I can see from that. But yeah, you're not actually in there being, I don't know how to explain that part. Like, you're not in there telling people how things work. Like, you just get to sit back and be like, this is what I can see, and then they can share more based on that as well. Tying in with that as well is, you're not there to make conclusions, but you can identify connections, which I think, I guess I haven't had a lot of experience with it, but I can see how I would jump to trying to like problem solve or get to the conclusion, but it's like that doesn't necessarily have to be my role. I can just share like, oh, I can see how that connects with this or that connects with this. And then again, it's like back on the participants to be like, oh, that could mean this or that's because of this. Like that doesn't have to be my role, which again kind of takes the pressure off me a little bit. Because I feel like the problem is like, I feel like there would be all this pressure on me, but I'm like, that's me kind of like misunderstanding what my role is, I think.
Yeah. This is so fucking good.
And then I think this all came from like one person's post, because I was looking at people saying like things they've learned from facilitating, like from doing the training that I'm doing. It was like other people's takeaways and stuff, or like lessons they learned from actually going off and running one for the first time. So it was that like people had really good summaries of like their little tips. And again, this one's kind of similar as well, but again, it's like setting that expectation of like, what do I need to do and how can I feel more comfortable going into it if I know what I need to do and what I don't need to do. And it was that you're not there to come up with answers, you're there to create the right conditions for the participants to come up with the answers. So there, I feel like that whole section that I've just said, they're all like the mindset things that I think I would actually need to remind myself of before I go in, before I start feeling like overwhelmed or worried about having to facilitate something for the first time or any time. Any meeting they would be useful to me for, because I feel like a lot of even just like I haven't run a workshop, but like even just the meetings that I've gone to, it is usually like a problem solving situation, or like we have a goal that we're trying to get to. And I think all of those things would apply to that as well. Like I'm not in there to like boss people around and tell people what to do. It's like, how do we get to a solution that's going to work for them? And generally you need them being like the participants and generally you need like their input. So it's like, how do you get them to figure it out, the solution? So that was that part of it. Another thing that came up, which I know we've talked about as a team, or Kim and I, you and I have at least, is about like groupthink and how you can stop groupthink from happening. Because I think I've fallen into like the trap of groupthink often, just with Hannah. Like that's like the prime example for me, is where we're like we're on the same page, like but it's like we share, like we can very easily convince and like justify things to each other, and sometimes it's like that means we're not going to make the right decision. Like we both think it's the right decision, but that's because it's been a groupthink situation. So it was to do with that. I don't know, Kimmy and I have like sort of talked about some strategies for that before, but this was specific to in a workshop, if you're noticing that like all the participants are saying all the same thing and agreeing on everything all the time, and how you can avoid that, because it could be like people don't feel comfortable sharing theirs once they hear a few other people like in agreement, and they're like not comfortable to say something different. So there were two options for that. One of them was getting participants to respond to things individually or silently. So whether it's like they send it to you directly, I don't like, it would depend what tool you're using or how you're running it, but if they can somehow do it like anonymously in a way where it's not like just sharing one after the other so everyone knows what everyone else has said. Or also by asking questions like, if you had to argue for the opposite approach, what might that sound like? So like actually saying to them, try and think of it in a different way, because then it, I guess, takes a bit of the pressure off of being like, oh, I don't think this is right, but someone could say this.
It's permission to be wrong, isn't it? Like there is no wrong, but it's
to disagree.
Love that.
But I think the question I'd still need to wrap my head around a bit, because I'm just thinking if I was asked that, I think it comes back to like how we always say, oh, step into their shoes, and I'm like, how? Like I just think this way. I can struggle sometimes to like see things differently. So I'm wondering like how that would play out, because if someone asked me that and I'm like set in my ways, I'm like, oh, what would the opposite thing be? So I think I'd need like a bit more work around that one.
Just on that, I like we got those cards recently that help you think differently. But if you just Google, this is for everyone as well, not just you, Vic. But you can Google like how to think differently or critical thinking questions, and there's like lots of like people have created so many things, but there's stimulus out there. So I know some of the like basic ones we've used before is like, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? If you had $1, what would you do? If you had 1 minute, if you had 5 years, just to help people change that thinking. And even just by bombarding a couple of things like that at the same time helps people get out of their head and think like, if you were Google, if you were whatever.
Thank you. I've put that on my little tip list. I learned a bit about like different icebreakers you can do, which I know we don't, well, from my experience, we don't normally do like an icebreaker of any sort. But I took some notes anyway around like
people love that stuff, so feel free to share. And I have 2 workshops this week, so I might experiment.
Well, yeah, I feel like some of them like I don't know. It's like it's hard because it's like a personal thing as well. Like if I read something like, oh, I would hate if I had to do that, then I'm like, I'm not going to write that down. But then it's hard because like everyone has that feeling. Like I could love a certain icebreaker idea, but like not everyone or every personality type is going to be like, yeah, this is so fun, this is so cool. Like, so I think, I'm not sold on the icebreakers idea, but the ones that seem to have a lot of like positive feedback on them, I jotted down in case I'm ever, I don't know, if I do start running them and I'm like, I need to do an icebreaker because this is awkward as all hell.
Yeah.
Like maybe I can choose to include them. So there was actually a really cool website. It's called the Stoke Deck. And it like generates random icebreaker ideas. I might just share my screen maybe just to like show people what it's like.
I think that's the thing like people need to realize. I'm really strong on it, is that your icebreaker has to be intentional. It's not for the sake of it. It needs to add value in some way. So don't just do something for the fun of it.
Well, yeah, I don't know about these ones then because they are random, but like you just go to this website, it can tell you like how many people can do it, what it's called. I mean, I would never do like that, for example.
Yeah,
I would absolutely hate that. But yeah, it's just like all random. Like I just clicked through a couple, but I'm like, oh, it's a good like.
That's so good.
Easy way to get lots of ideas. Some of them I think were kind of like generic icebreakers, like I don't know, what was your first job? Everyone tell the person next to them, like that kind of stuff. But yeah, I thought that was interesting at least. One that had seemed really popular on like heaps of the forum postings that I saw is it's called Draw a Duck, but like everyone has to draw a duck on a post-it note. And they have 1 minute to draw it, everyone sticks it up, and then apparently just doing that like helps people feel more relaxed and like excited and that kind of thing. So I don't, it's like from what people are saying, it seems like it's effective. And I mean, I wouldn't hate that one. The dancing one is like absolutely not. But and then there was actually this other cool website which I haven't like had too much of a play around with. I just jotted it down for like future looking, but it's called Fun Retrospectives. And so they do, I think they have like a bunch of different things on there that you can do. But it has like energizer ideas. So it's like different like little activity things you can do through, I guess it's throughout the workshop or whenever you feel like there's a bit of like, I don't know, a lull or people are like zoning out.
Never in our workshops, never a lull. But
well, yeah, I feel like ours are like very like, you smash it out and get it done kind of thing. And like, I guess with the workshop that I'm like learning from, it's like goes for days and days kind of thing. So I think it would depend on like the situation, but I still thought that was a cool like
your screen was blank
because you just had blank.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, we couldn't see anything.
I don't know why.
I think it looked like a little Zoom.
I think it's showing your second screen. Can you just do window rather than computer?
I did do I did entire screen because whenever I do window, it seems to like mess up. Can you see it now?
Yeah. No.
Okay, never mind. But it's called Fun Retrospectives anyway, if anyone wants to check it out.
Yeah,
we'll put it in the description.
They were probably like the key things, but there's something I want to ask you about, Kim, today, like when we get to it. But they were like the things that stood out to me the most this time.
They're so good. I know a lot of those things. I think the mindset stuff, I've definitely experienced that benefiting me 100%. So I agree with it. Yeah, that's really cool. Great tips, great takeaways.
Thanks, Vic.
Thank you.
You can ask Kim your question while you're on a roll with it all.
Thank you. So
I'm just going to point out,
the question I have,
people need to prioritize other people's learning, because holy shit, like, look what you just got from today.
So good.
So my next one was actually from like someone had said like, oh, this is a tip, but they didn't explain like how you do it. So I'm like, it seems like a good tip, but I still wouldn't, like I wrote it down, but I'm like, I don't know how I'd actually like practice that or do that. So it was saying that it's important to, you're in a workshop or a meeting, it's important to distinguish between primary and secondary issues, which I think is something I have struggled with, like not getting overwhelmed if, I don't know, people go off on like a bit of a tangent about things and you're like, is that important? Is it not important? Like, are they still talking about the same thing we started with, like that whole side of things? Because that's definitely something I would get like worried about in a meeting where I'm like, holy shit, trying to like capture everything. But then I'm like, is this even like relevant to, but I don't know if I'm like at the point where I can like process it all in the moment and be like, that's not important, that is. So like, how would you do that? Because just saying like distinguish between them, I'm like, great. How do you know?
Honestly, that is like such a good question to ask in life in general. I'll just throw to Hannah first up, because I feel like you've literally just had that experience last week, Hannah. So do you have any insights on that? Because you had, like, Hannah facilitated a workshop. She had questions to ask, a very like important outcome to achieve, multiple stakeholders, very passionate and expressive stakeholders as well. So it was like pretty full on, I would imagine, based on my experience with them as well, is where they are just so generous with their contribution, and knowing the outcome and the energy that would have been in there. Well, I believe the energy was pretty good anyway, Vic, but so based on your outcome on at the time that you were hoping to achieve. So yeah, what would you say?
I think the way I did it was like I broke it down by like, because the way I facilitated the workshop, I had like it question by question. So it wasn't like an overarching thing for the whole workshop. It's like, okay, I'm asking this question now. Is everything that's being brought up, does it help me like solve that question, or does it like meet the intent for that question? So it's probably like less overwhelming than being like, does it meet the whole project? It's just like, are they actually giving me what I need for this specific question right now? And I think because it is fast paced, sometimes you might hear things where you're like, that is separate from what we're talking about, or someone's just like venting about something separate or whatever. And that can either, like, some things got put to the side. So like I would like note it in like a box outside of the presentation, and make a plan to like share that with them separately. Also, like listening for clues. Like I think I was lucky with that client because they were very like on task and they knew exactly like the project they were dealing with and the success statement. So like they even said, they started talking about something and then they're like, oh, that's something that we can do like in 2024. So that to me was like, okay, they're talking about a separate thing now. And I was like, okay, so that's something separate to this project that you're going to do in 2024. I'll note it down here so you will remember, but like I'm not actually putting it into my template. So listening for like language like that. I think that's all I dealt with in that workshop. I think I sort of knew it wasn't relevant, and I wouldn't type it. And if I didn't type something and they brought up like, oh, just make sure you put, like, they would tell me you've missed this part. They were sort of watching what I was typing, so like they were sort of holding me accountable as well to make sure I captured like the relevant stuff.
That's a good
but it was
one.
Yeah,
You're sharing your screen so they can see what you're documenting down. Yeah,
because I said that at the beginning. I'm like, everything that, like, I'm going to ask questions, and like everything that you share that helps us like meet the goal for this workshop, I'm going to be writing it in this template. And yeah, they could like see exactly what I was writing. So there was even like a time, I think, because it's like, it's very fast paced, so you're like writing like so much and trying to listen at the same time. But there would be times where like someone would be like, oh, just like go back to that dot point above and just like add this in brackets like that. It'll make more sense if you add this. So I'm wondering if maybe you can even let people know that you're going to be like writing things down, and if like you do miss anything, so they can see like what you're getting from it and what things like aren't necessary, if that makes sense. I don't know, that's all I have so far. Like I'm sure there's other things, but I've only done one of those workshops solo, so that's where I'm currently at.
So how did you know, because I know you said like you had it broken down into like specific questions, so they would just answer that, but to me that's still kind of like, in an ideal world they will just answer that, but in the real world they might answer that with one relevant thing and 4 irrelevant things, and like think that they're answering your question. But did you think like, did it just seem obvious to you like that's not what I'm asking you, or was there like a way that you could divvy that up? Like, I don't know if it would have applied in your specific meeting, but like I just thinking back to meetings like I facilitated, and it just like goes people just go like on and on and on, and at the end I'm like, what the hell? Like I write it all down, I'm like, what the hell was like were they even talking about there?
I don't think in that workshop I had the feeling, and even like reading back through the notes after, I'm like, all of that is relevant to me. So I think I was lucky in the fact that they actually answered the questions properly. I think if I had got the feeling where like we were spending lots of time talking about something that had nothing to do with what we were supposed to be focusing on, I think I'd say like, can we just take a pause on that? What I'm hearing is you talking about this. I think this is separate from the project that we're working on. Can you like confirm that? And if it is, like, I can put it to the side here, or if someone here wants to take note of that and that can be dealt with like separate, that's probably how I'd handle it. But I wasn't in that situation to have to say that.
Yeah.
Building on that, Vic, as well, is like exactly what you're like feeling. I feel lost right now. And that is a red flag. So therefore, it's your responsibility, like in your summary notes, to connect the dots. So you're going, fuck, there's so much information coming here. Is this relevant? I'm not following. This doesn't make sense to me. And that awareness to then go, okay, well, do I need a pause to make the link to what I'm trying to do? So I can literally say, okay, just give me a moment. I need to process this. And you definitely hear me doing that a lot. And I do that in workshops as well. Because I am going, whoa, where are we at? What am I doing? Am I on track? Is this helping? So I do get that. And then I'm saying, okay, pause, make the link. And then sometimes I can't make the link. So I ask, this is what you said, or like, so help me understand that links to this. Get them to see it for you. Sometimes they say it a different way, and then you're like, oh, of course, yeah, I understand. And then you put it in, so that helps, I reckon. But the fact that you're feeling lost, or I'm not saying you do, but like the fact that you're just like, this doesn't make sense, like or the like is going on for you, then like problem solve that, basically, is what I would say.
I think maybe that's like a bit of a confidence thing, because sometimes I'm like, it seems like everyone else understands this and I just don't get it.
Do not assume that.
And that makes me hesitant to like, Yeah, be like, I need time, or like, I'm not understanding. If they're like, I just have that fear of them being like, are you fucking stupid? Like, how are you not keeping up with this?
No, because that's a groupthink thing, right? And there's probably other people sitting there going, what the hell are these people talking about? Oh my God, I'm tapped out now. I'm on my emails, whatever it is. So if you're feeling that way, someone else is likely, or there's a reason you're feeling that way. You're not making the connection. It comes down to your motivation now. You're not motivated because the conversation's derailed and it's not adding value to the agenda of the workshop or the meeting, whatever it is. So therefore you've tuned out, you're tapped out. Completely understandable. So therefore and if you're the facilitator, it's your role, or the host of the meeting, whatever it is, it's your role, as you said, to connect the dots. So in terms of confidence, you step into that. Okay, as the facilitator here, I am just going to take a moment to pause. I'm feeling a little bit like all over the place. A lot of information's being shared. I'm trying to digest what is adding value, what needs to be paused for the current forum. And then sometimes, like in that moment, I would be quite overwhelmed, and I just say, what's the last thing that came into my head? It was this statement by this person. Hey, can you specifically help me understand how this fits in here?
Yeah.
Something else I did as well, which like I kept hearing something, I think it's like a way to visually show the workshop participants what they're saying to you, to confirm that you're understanding what they're saying correctly. So like when they were like talking about something, there was lots of different things, and I'm like, there is like a few different ways I could understand that, but this is the way I'm understanding it. So you might get overwhelmed and be like, shit, like, did I understand it the way they're trying to tell me? Or so what I did was like a graph on screen. So I had like boxes, and I'm like, okay, so this is the first thing, this is the second thing, this is the third. It's a process that goes from left to right, and showing them that and being like, is that what everyone's saying? Like, can you help me confirm that that's it, or let's adjust it? So it's like a visual thing that everyone can, and maybe even if you have like bits of it, you can put that on screen, and then people can help you like visually map it out. That definitely works for me.
Yeah. Is it this? Is it not this? If it's not this, why?
Yeah.
I have actually done that in another workshop with a client where we were not understanding each other, and it was like going back and forth, and I'm like, I don't know how we're ever going to get on the same page. And it ended up being like, I was like, okay, I need to like visually represent this. And so like I made boxes, and we were like creating basically a flow chart together. And then like once the flow chart was done, we're like, okay, we're both on the same page. I sent it to them after the meeting, and I was like, we all knew what everyone was talking about. Because I think sometimes when you hear lots of different people explaining it in different ways and having like their own version of it, it can become overwhelming.
Yeah.
So the visual thing is definitely useful.
Yeah.
And
no, that's really cool. Thank you.
There's more. I think this is in the moment stuff, right? I'll just do one last in the moment, because I think there's a lot you can do before that really set you up for success. The last one, and the particular workshop Hannah's talking about, which is our kickoff. It's a creative conversation. People can go check it out in YouTube or get the free download from our human-centered design course. The free preview runs you through it. The first question, always, people will say, what are you looking for there? And it's open for a reason. And what I'm just getting is, just tell me what comes up, is how I always respond. Because I'm wondering what's going on for them. It's discovery. I'm seeking to understand. So therefore it opens a can of worms, and everyone's got random perspectives. So there I just say, tell me what comes up. And they start saying things that are a bit out there. And then as the questions go on, they are a bit more specific. But for me, I'm just trying to go, well, where's your gut around there? What's your experience? So it is a bit more open. And sometimes I don't know when someone, why I'm bringing that specifically up is when someone says to you, what are you looking for there? Or what do you mean by that? I've got to disconnect with them. I'm not communicating to them in the way that I'm intending. but they have something to communicate. And that's why they're saying, what is this? What's going on here? They're doing the flip of what we're talking about. So therefore I just say, well, tell me what you think it is. And then I can go, yeah, that's exactly it. I just didn't use the words or whatever. Or you can say, oh, no, hold on. It's, well, you don't shame them like that. But you can be like, oh, I can see why you might interpret it that way, actually. And now I can reframe it in a way that is more specific, that helps us get the thing. So that's the in the moment stuff, but I would highly, highly recommend that if you plan really well, you can set up the environment and the circumstances for it to be successful. And that is why, like, all of our meetings, not our meetings, sorry, but we do a lot of planning around our meetings, Vic, like, and especially I'm just thinking about some, like the planning we did for a look and feel meeting, where like it's so subjective. Everyone can have an opinion, and we're like, we don't need opinions right now. We need, is it this design or is it not? Oh, sorry, we are looking for approval. So I think knowing the outcome that you're trying to achieve, you design the environment, you design the questions very intentionally to reach that point. So with our questions, they only extract relevant information, or set up the circumstance for relevant information to be shared specific to the outcome we're trying to achieve. So being very clear on what that is. So in the particular conversation we're talking about at the moment, it's the kickoff meeting. What do we need? We need a success statement. We need a project goal. The questions are 5 questions, the same questions every single time. Get us that information to give us the project goal, the success statement. If we move further down the project kind of phases, it's like, I need scenarios, I need activities, I need examples, I need whatever it is as the instructional designer to go write a storyboard. Okay, well, how can I create the environment? What can I ask that gives me the exact content to use? What people would say in the scenario, what people would do in the scenario, what are the choices in the scenario? So if you take the time to plan, and it does take significant time, we've honed it over that, but every single time, literally Hannah ran a workshop that I could pick up and have nothing to do with that workshop and go and do the storyboarding, because we planned it that well with the questions that she's extracted the information. And also, I said, if I'm the instructional designer, what do I need from Hannah that she can go in there on behalf of me to run that and give me what I need, not make it a waste of time, or it suits Hannah's role if she was doing the task, but if I'm doing it, it wouldn't suit me. So that time to plan, what are my questions? What do I need at the end of this so that I can move forward? Knowing the outcome you're trying to achieve, really, like, you reverse it, you work backwards, and then you ask the questions. Okay, this is what I would need to ask, this is what I need to know, and then you allow like buffer time for anything else that might come up that you didn't plan for. So at the end you have kind of like 10 minutes, and included in that might be like your wrap up time, but it's just time for you going, okay, we've talked about a lot, I planned, I've done really well, but I have like a little gut feeling, there's a red flag, there's something that's come up extra for me, to be able to go, this is my outcome, this is still a gap for me, what's the question I need to ask to fill that gap?
Yeah. Thank you.
And I think it does get easier over time. Like for me personally, it's the more I do it. We've spoken about before, like Kim says, for her, like time like slows down, where it doesn't feel as like fast paced, where like everyone's talking at you and you're like overwhelmed. And like I feel like when you first start, it can feel like that, not for everyone, but like the more you do it, like I even noticed the last workshop I did, time did feel like it went a little bit slower, because I have like run probably a few more workshops than what I did like at the very beginning, where it did feel very quick and fast paced. So I think it also is just like allowing yourself the time to like get used to it and not putting pressure on yourself to do it like perfectly from the beginning, because it's like very normal for it to feel fast and overwhelming. For me anyway, that's my experience at the beginning when you first start.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking right now, like we've been talking for like 40 minutes on so much valuable stuff that is going to go out the window. Like it's not relevant to everyone right now in this time. Maybe they'll rewatch it, whatever. So if we think about that, even that alone demonstrates just one thing, and that is be curious. If you be curious and that is always your thing, you will be fine in any fucking thing that ever happens in life. Because what do we know about be curious? Just ask a question. What do I need to know the answer to right now? Be curious. What, how, why? Now I'm like going down, but if all of the things that we've actually summarized could be summarized into be curious. And another, like, I felt like this was like a nice summary of it. I went to a museum and there was I think it's Banksy, and the quote was, learn how to cheat. I'm not saying it exactly, but like learn how to cheat and you never have to learn anything again. Be curious and you never have to learn any skill because then you'll work it out.
Okay. Thank you both for that.
Good
question. All right, well, I think I want to keep it on the topic of like facilitation of workshops.
Well, don't lose out if we did have like a
No, this is actually relevant to me because I do have workshops coming up, and now that we're talking about this, I'm like, it would be useful. I want you both to think of like a training session or a workshop that you attended where like the facilitation was really good and you enjoyed it. And to tell me what the facilitator specifically did to create that experience for you.
They were human and they respected my time. Respecting my time means we were there, we got the right things done, and we went about our lives. We weren't like talking about how's your weekend, what's the weather like.
Love that.
I'm trying to think of a training thing I've gone to that wasn't ours. Like I've watched Kim do them and they're really good. I might be a little bit biased, but she's done everything that we've talked about good facilitators doing.
Thank you.
What else does Kim specifically do that we haven't brought up?
I don't like. I feel like it's difficult because it is all like subjective. But like, I love Kim's like energy and like attitude in the way she facilitates. Like to me, it feels very like relaxed and fun, and it's not like, I don't know, it's not as scary as like more corporate-y, strict ones where you just sit there and listen kind of thing. She's curious, always asking the right questions.
I actually know very little. I'm just telling you that. Very good at being curious.
Going back to like the energy and attitude and like the relaxed and fun vibe, what does she specifically do? Like if you're a fly on the wall, what would she be doing for you to think that it's relaxed and
Well, I think it feels relaxed and fun to me because I know it's her being authentic. So like the relaxed fun thing could look different for everyone. Like, but I appreciate that she's being authentic, and like I can tell that because I have seen her outside of those situations, and she acts the same way. Like she's not putting on like a front or anything. So yeah, like for her, she's smiling, she'll be laughing. I feel like she doesn't like, you don't censor yourself at all. You don't get hung up on like, I don't know, even like the language and stuff. You're well spoken, but you're not hung up on like wording everything absolutely perfectly. It's like you say it makes sense. But I can tell it's like natural. Yeah, like it's things you would say normally if we were just having a conversation. I don't know if I have anything else to say on that part of it. Does that make sense though? The energy thing.
Yeah, I think so. That was good.
Because it could be like someone could act differently and it could still be fun. Like they might be more serious or they might speak a certain way and it could still be fun. But like, yeah, because I know that it's authentically Kim. Like it's like I can tell she's like enjoying it kind of thing. Because it matches her normal energy.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because for me, I feel like it's like similar to what you're saying, but I enjoy it if I know the facilitator is comfortable. If I feel the facilitator's like uncomfortable or they feel like not confident or out of their depth or whatever, I feel uncomfortable for them. But like I'm trying to think myself, like what are the actual things they do that make me realize that they're comfortable? And I feel like sometimes it is like an energy or a vibe that I can't always like explain. But I'm just like they enjoy what they do, they're loving it, they're totally chill.
Yeah.
But I think some of the things you said is like what it is. Like they're laughing, they're smiling, they have like a relaxed, like non-verbal body language. That sort of, because if the facilitator's anxious, I'm like anxious watching them and I'm like, get me out of this.
I think it is like we're all describing the same thing, but it's what Vic's labeled it right. I said human, but I meant they're authentic. They're comfortable in themselves. They're comfortable in their role. Like they don't have, it's not always smiles and laughter. Like that's not.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to go in and fire. Like I'm just thinking of someone like firing someone. Like that's not the role that you want to be if you're in a difficult conversation. Yeah. But it's if you're genuinely like, I care about you as a human. This is a difficult situation. I feel uncomfortable having this conversation with you. I'm sure you do as well. Like that authenticity there and being comfortable in like, I feel awkward right now. I don't want to have this conversation. I love you as a human, blah, 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 whatever it is. That's probably what is connecting here.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I explained that. Like for you, I see it as smiling and laughing, but I'm like, it won't always look like that. But for you, that's how I can tell.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because you are that kind of person. And I haven't been in a conversation where you've fired me before, so I don't know if you'd change that or not.
Well, I think like, if you think there's been times where you have like a personal conversation where it's a bit more serious, something might be going on in our lives. I'm not like, that's fucking cool. But it's the ability to just, be authentic in that moment. And what that looks like is different depending on the circumstance, but it's also different depending on the person. Like, Hannah's not very funny, so there's not going to be in there, you know? I think she always has to say that she is, but you don't force the situation. It's just comfortable in your own skin, like in your role, I feel.
I feel like from that discussion, it's like for me, it's the comfort and authenticity, and then it's also the good intentions and like care. Because I feel like sometimes people can be comfortable or whatever, but like they couldn't give two, like you can just tell they don't really give a shit. And they're just like doing it because I have to, and they're not putting in like effort. Like that is a bad thing to me. So I think it is like authenticity and like gives a shit.
Yeah.
And you can tell if someone gives a shit, I think.
How?
Yeah.
No, you can tell when they're not, so we don't even need to go there.
But I think that like with being like having good intentions, but also just like having an intentional workshop or meeting, like what you were saying before, Kim, about like having the right questions. Like if I feel like my time's being wasted because I'm like, this person like I've come to this workshop, this person I can tell they haven't like prepared, or they're asking things where I'm like, why the hell are you asking that? Like, and then I'm sitting there listening to maybe people respond or them talk more, and I'm just like, this is like not adding like any value to me. But like if they've put in the effort to do that, like that is good to me.
Exactly.
Like, I don't feel like my time's wasted because they're asking the right questions.
That brings me back to, I forgot to say, it was one of my other things for what you asked, Vic, in terms of the planning. It's who you invite, like get the right people in the room. So making sure, like when we send workshop agendas, we say, this is the outcome. Make sure it's anyone that might say no at this point. Make sure that it's this perspective, this kind of perspective, so that it's very intentional who's in there, because sometimes you can get excited, like people can get excited and they open the invitation out and then people are like, why am I here? Like that's where the conversation can derail. But if everyone knows you are here to help us achieve this, you've been selected because we know you can add value to this process, which is how I kind of open up the thing. But before that, I'm even saying, whoever's booking the meeting or the workshop, get these people here. I don't want other people. And that really helps.
Something else that came up when I was like preparing for a workshop, I watched one that you did, Kim, and I really liked how you started the workshop. You said, so because like we have our instructional design process and we know that the workshop will get us what we need, we can't always expect that the participants in the group are going to make all the connections and the links that we do. So I really liked how you said, Kim, you said like this workshop like is like it's being designed intentionally. Everyone's here because you have value to share. It may feel like all over the place or like you're not sure why you're answering certain questions, but like just trust me, it is intentional. And if you like answer the questions that I ask you, it'll help us like reach success with the project and like get started on the project. And I think that was a really good way to start it. So if people are like, why the hell are you asking me this question? Or like for example, if they're like, why does it matter what the audience thinks? Like we're designing this for the business. They know like, oh, it must like there's something in their process that's going to help us meet the goal. So I think that's like useful as well.
Yeah, I reckon setting like any kind of expectations I would appreciate from the facilitator, whether it's that about the process or when it's like, Kim, when we've gone to workshops and you say like, you don't need to know anything, like just say like the first thing that comes to mind or whatever, like having that like freedom and like permission to know what you're expected to contribute, knowing those expectations.
And that's,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it comes down to the planning. So one of the things that I figured out was like, there's a lot of fear or scared or nervousness, anxiety. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with that because it's blocking you, whether it's mine or it's theirs. So like permission for me to adapt the workshop in the moment, because I'm like, not getting me what I need, new agenda, right? So I say that it's going to feel like it's all over the place. Just trust the process. I'm connecting the dots. I might cut us off halfway through. So that's my permission for myself and for them to accept that my style of working is going to be like this. But also on the flip side for them, I planned around how might people be feeling being invited here? What might be going through their heads? And then I basically debunk all that shit because I don't want to deal with it. I want you to be the best version of yourself because I know you have it in you to give me what I need to serve you to the best of our ability of what you want from us.
Yeah. Love that.
This episode, whoa.
How good. Such a good episode. Well, we have, time is up. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you are listening or watching this episode and you are running workshops or you're wanting to run workshops with your stakeholders, I highly recommend checking our human-centered design course out. I'm going to link it in the description below. We go through like how we run our workshops. We give you templates of exactly the questions that you need to ask, advice on how to prepare, everything that you need. So please check that out. Yeah, everything we've spoken about really.
In a playbook, like the exact questions, everything. Yeah.
So check that out. Don't forget to subscribe if you get value from us and the videos that we share, and we will see you for the next episode.
What's up, awesome human? Thank you on behalf of myself and the Belvista Studios team for continuously choosing to learn with us. We really appreciate it. If the tips and the insights and the context resonate with you and you want to take your skills to the next level or you want to make your life way easier, you will love our Creator Hub. The Creator Hub is a place for people like you and us. Basically, it's the stuff that we use internally at Belvista Studios and then we just share it publicly with you. The Creator Hub is created by instructional designers for instructional designers, and what you'll love there at the moment is we've got a quiz, Could I Be a Better Instructional Designer, that has so much tips in the feedback if you're interested in human-centered design or just taking your skills to the next level in terms of the solutions you're creating and the problems you want to solve. But in there as well, aren't we cute? That's us. But we've got the coaching courses, freebies, give us gratitude, and also we've got some templates, and basically they're always around the lens of learning experience design, instructional design, and e-learning. So a human-centered design focus is very much what we're about at Belvista Studios. So putting your learners at the heart of a solution and creating something for their needs. So there's the human-centered design stuff, and then we've also got the business stuff. So this is the stuff they don't teach you about when you want to become a freelancer or a consultant in the instructional design world. So go check it out. The link is in the description. You can check out everything that is available for you. Thank you for choosing to learn with us. Continuously invest in your skills. You will be rewarded as an instructional designer. Share this stuff, share it with other people, because when we are better instructional designers, we create better solutions that create better humans, that create a better world. So we have a very important role, and I'm excited to be on this journey with you. Have an awesome day.